It's a cold evening here in Davos, but looks like the global economy is certainly warming up. And with me here to talk more about it, Mr. T.K. Kurian, CEO of Wipro Technologies, a $7 billion software services firm. Mr. Kurian, many thanks for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
You're saying that it feels like summer to you here. You're back from Minneapolis.
So if you're in Minneapolis and if you face minus 51 with wind chill, this is summer.
It's certainly not summer for us, but yes, the weather in Davos this year is certainly much better than what it's been in the last few years. The global economy, is it looking any better? Do you feel it's warming up finally?
Oh, absolutely it is. So I think clearly in the US you're having a recovery. There's no question about it.
Right.
And what we've always seen is when US recovers, UK typically follows with a lag.
Sure.
Continental Europe again follows with another lag. So clearly both Europe and the US, we see signs of recovery. I think people have reached a stage where they've said, let's keep depression aside and open up our purse strings. So that's happening.
Okay.
Now, how that'll play out for our industry and how much is a question that we're still kind of assessing. We don't know the answer to that.
Already we're seeing signs of recovery in the IT industry as well, and Wipro particularly has delivered impressive results, at least in the last 2 quarters. We'll talk more about Wipro, but just to get a sense now of India and how India is really being viewed on the global stage, and Davos is a perfect place to get a sense of the India mood, really. Do you think people have finally started re-looking at India once again after the kind of pessimism around India over the last couple of years?
I think there are a couple of things with India. India was at a high 6-7 years ago.
Right.
And then we hit the bottom maybe about 2 years ago.
Right.
I think now it's a stage where people are kind of looking at India, assessing their position. I don't think people are going to start making big investment decisions in a hurry.
And why do you say that? Is it because they still don't have confidence on policy making? Is it because it's a wait and watch game right now because elections are around the corner? Or do you think whatever damage control we do now will be too little too late?
It's not damage control. What typically happens is that money chases opportunities.
Right.
And that's a reality. India has been tough over the past couple of years in terms of opportunities. So to that extent, the reassessment of opportunities has to happen.
Okay.
Now, when India becomes attractive, the reality is India is a place where you can actually make money today.
Right.
Very unlike other countries.
But then why isn't money flowing in? Is the
Primarily
question.
because I think what happened was a lot of the hype story, which was right out there on a high a couple of years ago, has now come down.
Right.
It'll take time for it to kind of go back.
Right.
So it's from a boom, what I always call the cycle of euphemism.
Right.
Right? So it's huge amounts of exuberance, down to depression, then you hit stability.
So are we in the phase of stability right now?
I think we are heading towards stability.
Okay, so that's important because you're saying there was a lot of gloom and doom over the last 2 years, and there was obviously euphoria many years ago, and now we're seeing more realism or stability that's coming in. If we actually try and analyze some of the factors that led to the slowdown, what according to you tops the list? What according to you was the biggest mistake made perhaps by policymakers that led us to that depression, as you call it?
Somewhere I think we believe that what was happening to India was happening because of the policies that we put down.
Right.
What was happening to India was just simply the fact that there was a demographic dividend that India had. India was exploiting the demographic dividend, and because of that, demand went up.
Right.
Right? And that was the beauty of it.
Right.
Somewhere we decided at a certain point of time that if the government gets in and does something to control it, things would be better, and that didn't really work out. Because in many cases, businesses grow and businesses really thrive when government just steps out of.
And that's a classic case of the IT industry, because
Absolutely.
that's the famous line, is that because IT grew in India because there was no government interference.
Nobody understood our business. And that is the beauty of it.
Right, right. So clearly now we're seeing the government trying to revive the India story. But the big worry right now is the political situation. There is clearly a worry about the kind of instability we may see after elections. Do you think when you talk to your clients here, when you talk to people here in Davos, is that a question that comes up time and again? Are they worried about what the elections may really throw up in terms of a fractured verdict perhaps?
I think most people realize this, that whether it's a fractured verdict or not, the ability of the government specifically to do something which is going to influence business and help business kind of suddenly turn the corner
Right.
is not very significant when it comes to India.
Okay.
Because we have had
But,
so
but
many.
it's significant when it comes to the damage they can do. Is that correct? They may not help, but they can hurt.
Put it this way, they can hurt.
Right.
They can hurt through policies.
Right. And which
They
is
can
what
hurt
happened.
through pronouncements. They
Right.
can hurt through indecision.
Right.
And I think the last thing is the worst.
The indecision.
Indecision.
Right.
Everything else people can take.
Right.
Indecision, when indecision happens, money waits.
Yeah.
Right? When
And
money
that's what
waits,
we saw happen.
Exactly.
Really, because everybody was waiting on the sidelines. There was too much indecisiveness on a number of policy issues. So is that what your message would be to policymakers? Don't sit on decisions. Just go ahead and pronounce them.
And I think the good thing is, in whatever form or shape, over the past couple of months, we've seen policy decisions being taken.
Okay.
They may not be things that people like,
Right.
and business can kind of accept that.
Right.
That everything won't go their way.
Right.
But what business cannot accept is the fact that no decision will be taken.
Right. Right.
Right? That's the hard part. And I think, more importantly, from our perspective as a country, I think we have to realize this, that as a country today, we've given an entire generation hope. Once you give a generation hope,
Yeah.
and then you take it away,
Yeah.
which means if growth is not there, you're taking it away.
Right.
If you take it away, the social consequences of that are massive. And I think our political system now understands that. And they also understand the fact that if they don't do something about it, the consequences could be pretty damaging for the country as a whole.
And every time we shave off 1 percentage point, for instance, from our growth, we see the kind of consequences that there are in terms of unemployment, jobs. And I'd like to talk to you particularly about jobs and unemployment, because that's a pressing issue, not just for a country like India, emerging countries that are clearly facing slowdown and wanting to get back those good growth rates, but also for the developed world. And for an outsourcing company like yours, those are questions that time and again come up, with countries getting protectionist in the post-crisis world and saying, you know what, we want to ensure the jobs are being created. And companies like Wipro take away jobs instead of creating them. Is that sentiment something that worries you?
In fact, the funny thing is that we're the most misunderstood industry.
Right.
In many ways, we create more jobs than what we take away,
Yeah.
especially in the countries that we work in.
Right.
But we have done a very poor job
In trying to communicate that.
of communicating it.
Right.
And that's, I think, the hard part. And I think, there's nobody to blame excepting ourselves in that particular case.
But you've been working increasingly now, for instance, with American policymakers to drive home the point that, you know what, you're creating jobs in those economies, you're not necessarily taking them away. But it helps to be protectionist, it helps to be making the right noises about creating jobs. And in that sense, do you see yourself time and against, trying to drive home that point but not making much success with it?
And there's a reason behind that. That's a very good reason behind it. If you look at our management group, for example, if you look at the people who sit in my management team, all bar 2 are Indians,
Right.
right? So the face that we put in front of the customer is a very Indian face.
Right.
Until we can change that face in the country that we work in and the country that we serve, it's going to be very difficult for us to project the fact that we're truly multinational.
Right.
And that's the challenge. So that's what we have to start working on.
So clearly those are issues you're working on. At the same time, we do see major diplomatic issues that are taking place. For instance, between India and the United States, in the recent episode of the Devyani Khobragade case that has taken diplomatic relations to a new low, I could say, in many ways. How much do you think it impacts companies like Wipro? Because at the end of the day, here you're trying to resolve some of those issues over visas or over outsourcing rhetoric that takes place, and then you have this entire episode that brings about a new diplomatic row.
So put it this way, noise never helps.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look back, could this have been solved in a better way? The answer is probably yes. But again, I'm not the person on the hot seat, so I can't really comment on it.
Yeah.
But any public spat has public consequences.
Right.
Any private spat can remain within wraps,
Right.
right? So this has been a little public.
Yeah.
The second component of that is that I think both the governments are mature enough to understand that they need each other,
Yeah.
right? Because today, geopolitics, the way it's kind of panning out,
Yeah.
everybody needs a strong India.
Yeah.
And frankly, if you look around India, we're sitting in the middle of a whole bunch of states who are kind of tenuous, if you may, in terms of democracy at best.
Sure.
So that's why India is needed.
Yeah.
Now for India to stand up and do something about it and to actually kind of play the positive role, I think we need to have economic success. Because without economic success, the reality is that will never get the respect that we deserve from anyone else.
And IT is an industry that's really truly put India on the global map. How much of that has changed? Because while we may talk about the slowdown, we may say, okay, we have our share of political troubles, policy paralysis, inaction, but is it true that India today remains a country that's hard to ignore? Whether it is by countries or by companies, it is a country that nobody can ignore.
Absolutely. When you have 1.2 billion people, you can't ignore that country in any form or shape. That's a reality. So to that extent, India cannot be ignored.
Right.
But it's really up to us to use that positive aspect to our advantage. And I think that's what we need to kind of work on.
I want to now talk to you specifically about Wipro and the kind of turnaround that we've seen in Wipro. You've been now at the helm for about 3 years, and clearly remarkable work that has been done by you. We've seen that Wipro was clearly lagging behind its peers, and that was a real cause of worry. And you had your peers, TCS, Infosys, clearly doing much better. Have things really changed? Can we clearly call this a turnaround now for Wipro?
No, I don't think you can. Because I've always believed that at the end of the day, when you look at success is not one quarter, it's not 2 quarters.
Yeah.
It is a series of quarters where you perform as expected. And to me, I will not be satisfied till we hit a secular growth rate of 4 to 4.5% on a quarterly basis.
Right.
That's what we are gunning for. We
Right.
are not yet there, but that's what we're gunning for.
So clearly when you talk about the changes, the strategic changes that you particularly have brought about, decentralization is something that comes up top of mind, and that's something you've really tried to achieve. How important is that aspect of your strategy, and how much of it would you carry forward? For instance, also having CEOs, for those sort of mini CEOs you keep talking about, saying you will take care of the talent, the rest is for them to manage. Is that a strategy that has yielded positive results? Is that something you can go ahead with?
So, any strategy that you put in place, you have to marry that with the leadership that you have.
Yeah.
Right? So, we believe that a certain level of decentralization was required for leadership to stand up and take ownership. I think going forward, we're going to decentralize even more.
Okay.
Our belief is that centrally, all that we can do is manage capital and manage talent. And also look at strategic objectives that are 2 to 5 years out. The first 12 to 18 months really has to be, it's all about execution, and that has to be done in the business unit.
Right.
Right? Because think about it. For leadership, for any leader to survive, there are 3 components that are very critical. There is vision, there is execution, which is the third. There's a piece in the middle, which I think is the most important piece. That is called courage.
Okay.
So when you have vision, courage, and execution, you're truly a leader. And the tough one is getting people who've got courage.
And that's why perhaps you're also making changes to your entire HR strategy, where you're saying that your grade will not be determined necessarily by the years of service that you put in, but by your skill. And that's, again, a huge change you've brought about within the company.
So it's not just skill; it is both technical skill as well as the soft skills,
right,
and your performance.
Right.
Right. So all 3 are important, and more importantly, you have to perform outside your areas of comfort.
Yeah.
Because people who perform outside the areas of comfort are people who really perform over the long run. People who perform in the area of comfort, frankly, when you move them out, they always tend to kind of falter. So for us, that's very, very critical.
All right, and attrition remains a big concern for you. Clearly the numbers, they're not looking good at all.
Not at all. Very comfortable.
Comfortable.
Very, very comfortable. They've always said that we'll be between a 13 to 15% range, and we're there.
Okay.
We're 14.6% this quarter, so we're okay.
Let's now quickly wrap up by talking about the upside and the downside, both for Wipro, for the global economy, for the Indian economy. Let's start by talking about Wipro first. What are your key concerns when you talk about downside risks, and what could clearly help on the upside?
So what I worry about is protectionism.
We talked about that. Yeah.
In our business, protectionism can kill us.
Right.
And more importantly for us, I think the key issue is this, that in the short run, this industry is going to go through huge change,
Yeah.
especially with technology coming in and mechanization happening. We have to stay ahead of that game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are in a highly competitive industry. And to that extent, the biggest fear that I have is when you wake up next morning, are you really in a position where you can compete for the future? And that's the challenge that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. That's truly a challenge. Any upsides that you can bank on, really?
I think the upsides of this, I think we have tremendous leadership.
Yeah.
And more importantly, we're a global company.
Right.
Today we operate in some form or shape in 74 countries across the world. There's a lot of countries.
Right. Right.
But diversity has got its challenges.
Yeah.
Because in diversity, if you can't control and manage diversity,
Right.
you have to let people take decisions, and you hope every night when you go to bed that you've taken the right decisions.
Right. And the right
And that's-
decisions is critical.
And that's all that you kind of bet on.
The Indian economy, the downside risks and what we can bank on really as far as the upside is concerned, what according to you would be the key downside risks for the Indian economy?
Downside risk, in my view, would be again another bout of paralysis.
And would
I
that come from
doubt-
a fractured verdict?
Could come from a fractured verdict. Could come from the fact that when we have a fractured verdict, we take a long time to form a government. That could be an
Right.
issue. That
Right.
could be the downside risk.
Right.
I think the upside is today we have tremendous potential as a country.
Sure.
It's if we can harness that, we really would be in a better place.
Global economy, to wrap it up, really, what could really come as a positive surprise in 2014 as far as the global economy is concerned, and any major downside risks? Are there red flags that global policymakers are ignoring when they're saying recovery is in place?
Continental Europe, I think, could be a big positive surprise.
Okay.
Right? The negative, in my view, would be really I can't see a negative coming in now. The real worry that I have is more, at least in our business, more data protection coming in because of all these cybersecurity issues that are
Right.
out there.
But that's important as well, because
That's very, very important.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very, very important because if you're
regulations have to change. Technology is moving way too fast to keep
technology
pace
is
with,
moving very, very fast, too fast for policymakers to keep in
with it. Right.
keep in touch with it. Actually, not even pace.
Right.
And
Right.
I think that's the challenge. So I don't know what would happen from a data protection perspective for our industry. But otherwise, it looks far more positive now than it did a year ago.
All right, and here's clearly hoping that 2014 will turn out to be far more positive than what we've seen in the last few years for Wipro, for India, and as far as the global economy is concerned. Such a pleasure to talk to you, Mr.
Thank you
T.K.
very
Kurian.
much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All
Thank
the
you very
best.
much.